Radio Zero.
It's Radio Zero with Rick and Rose, Friday, September 15th. I still can't believe it's Friday, September 15th. Uh-oh, somebody's calling me. Spam risk is calling me.
Friday the 15th. Okay,
yeah.
Not Friday the 13th.
No, there's going to be an October Friday the 13th, I think.
You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or you can go to radiozero.us where there's an RSS feed. We try to live stream the show on Facebook, on the Radio Zero page and the Poster Children page, on Twitch at PCJCUSA, and on the Poster Children YouTube channel. Today, 5 p.m. Central. So I think that's going to be the time we do our live stream every other week. So for the near future, I'm going to assume that's when we'll be live streaming. You can patronize us at patreon.com/Radio Zero. Thank you to all of our patrons.
And you can send 200 stars to see your comment here.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It just says it there. It's
Where
weird.
does it say it?
It says it on my internet.
Send
200 stars to see your comment here.
Because you said that before.
Yeah.
You can't comment until you've starred something?
I don't know. I don't usually star stuff. I don't. And then
Are you
I see
talking
the
about
comments.
Facebook?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. There's nothing worse than people talking about like their feed when it's like just the intricacies of my microphone is pink. Did you notice that? But yeah. All right. So let's get started. My brain is all jumbled up because I just came from leading a capoeira class, which was lots of fun. There's lots of things happening in Bloomington with capoeira, and today was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
We played music and stuff for a while. It's very hard. For those of you who don't know, capoeira is a Brazilian cultural practice. It's kind of like a martial art. Some students know it as, that's that dance fight thing. And I'm a practitioner of capoeira, and we're having classes at it here at ISU. And the thing is that not only do you need to learn how to fight and learn how to speak Portuguese and learn the song, you have to learn the songs and the instruments. And one of the instruments is called the berimbau, and it's really hard to play. Have you ever tried to play berimbau?
Maybe.
It hurt. So
would have
people.
Been a long time ago.
Yeah. So when people first, start, some groups, they don't allow you to. Sorry, Xfinity is calling me now. They don't allow you to play. They don't allow the beginners to play the berimbau. But my mess today, the person who is in charge of my lineage, he'll put a berimbau in a beginner's hand the first day.
Berimbau in a beginner's hand.
Yeah. He's awesome. So we had beginners, trying to learn the berimbau today. So that was fun.
I'm going to move your camera on the live stream a little closer to you, so your head is closer, so it just doesn't make my head look so.
Does this camera make my head look big?
No.
No, I'm
that's
saying,
the problem.
you know what? Why my head looks small? Because I have these awesome glasses.
Yeah, but it
I
also
love
is
these glasses.
just
Okay. All right. So what did you do today? Oh, you had a faculty meeting.
Yeah, I was in meetings, and I've been
was
grading, and I've been using.
Grading. What's that?
I'm using my. I'm working with a new second brain, digital brain called Capacities.io. Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
Zettelkasten. Note-taking, linked notes, sort of a network-based note-taking web application. And I'm trying it out. So
what did you move from? What were you using before?
Well, so for note-taking, I used to use Evernote years ago. I stopped using that. I just went to Google Docs, and I just throw things into Google Docs. And then in my productivity thing, my main thing is, and again, not a sponsor, I pay for this, something called GQs. That's my to-do list, but it's a to-do list that integrates with Google products, and so your to-dos show up. You can it works as a regular to-do list. Well, not a regular. It's a pretty complicated to-do list with sub categories and all sorts of stuff. It's super hyper organizable, and then but each to-do you can create or if you give it a date and time. Actually, every to-do is connected to your calendar, and so it's also an event. So basically, you can move your to-dos around. They show up on your calendar, your Google Calendar. You can move them around.
Right, not your Microsoft calendar.
Yeah. So
God,
it's all fused together because I need my to-dos. Yeah, that's what I learned is time-based to-dos, right? So it's not enough to have a to-do list, not enough to be an expert at breaking down tasks into achievable steps within your to-do, and to organize and categorize them, and then also have reminders pop up. It's not just having reminders, it's you make this to-do. So for instance, my Radio Zero live stream checklist is a to-do. The top level, it's live stream checklist, and then it's got a whole bunch of to-dos underneath it in subcategories, like how I have to set up all the equipment and all that stuff I say at the beginning of the show. But it's also that top level to do is a 1.5 hour block time scheduled, for instance, today at 5 p.m. And so I have a 5 p.m. block in my calendar that is that to do. And so that's been how I've, been working. And I haven't switched products in forever. The to-do thing, I used to, every year I'd have, after the summer or, during the summertime,
you always have
I'd revamp.
I
did, Todoist. Oh, where's the milk, right? What was it called? Remember the milk?
Did you ever use Basecamp?
Basecamp I tried for a little while. I used that for a class project, actually more. That was more like project management stuff. Trello. I went through everything, Wunderlist, all the different lists, Google Tasks. And so that was the thing. I think I talked about it a couple episodes ago, right? Google Tasks got shut down. What was it, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
And then they brought it back, and with calendar integration, and then my 10-year-old to-dos showed up back again. So they had stored all the data. They shut it down. They shuttered it. I went on to something else. I was happy with it at the time.
Yeah,
Google Inbox was great. So that was what was great about Google Inbox, is that and a lot of that's integrated into Gmail now, but being able to snooze messages and stuff.
I need to ask you.
And you can connect your message, like you can, hit a button on your email and make it into a to-do, and vice versa. Well,
okay.
Not vice versa, but yeah. So that's my whole to-do thing. But my note-taking and kind of stuff was all just throwing things into Google Docs, right? And putting them into boxes. And then I heard about
capacities.
And networked note-taking, and Zettelkasten, which is instead of taking notes that are categorized and filed, you sort of start creating a network. And
now that's that you had me at Zettelkasten, whatever, however the
personal
hell you spell
knowledge
that.
management. And so this capacities thing, you create individual objects. An object can be a meeting, a project, a person, right? But you can weave them all together.
That's what to me. I would like if because I'll take a note. I'll take notes on a meeting, and then there'll be people in there, and then I'll just I don't know who the people are again, And so if I could make an object of the people, an object, as an object oriented sort of as in like a sort of a, I don't know, like a concept stored in the computer with tags inside of it, then that would be the thing. So Andy Lester says, I live in things, and Micah Bedwell says, this is wonderful.
Well, things that's Mac, right? Like I jump around. I'm on Android, and I'm on a desktop. I'm on,
Is everything okay?
various laptops.
I'm doing a podcast now. Oh, Jesus Christ. My mom is calling me, and I go, is everything okay? And she goes, no. But I'll call you back later, Mom. I'm doing a podcast. Can you
Are
people
you
see?
for
There.
sure everything's okay?
Yeah. Are you
Okay.
sure everything's okay?
Not okay.
You're on the podcast now. Oh shit. Okay. Well, I'll call you. Yeah. Can I call you back in 55 minutes? Okay. All right.
Is it
Love
an
you.
emergency?
Is
what
it
you
an
should-
emergency? Do you
Okay.
want to say something to the 10 people who are watching?
I don't think anyone
Yes.
can hear that.
Yes. It's our podcast.
No one can hear that.
Everything they say. They're very credible.
That's,
Thank
I
you.
mean, they may have heard that. Okay. I love you. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Can't believe my mom doesn't listen to this. Let's
Doesn't-
talk about her. Anyway, all right. So back to Zettelcasting. Larry's saying hi to my mom.
Oh yeah, things and stuff. Yeah. So having a productivity system. But so the thing is about capacities. It does have calendar based stuff, but it's not integrated directly into the calendar. So it's I could see as they build it out. So it's relatively new. If they build it out, and if my to-dos can start being more like actually linked to my calendar as opposed to having the calendar. So you can do calendar-based stuff in this sort of note-taking, information, personal knowledge management system. There's a calendar part of it, but it's not integrated across. And so that's why I'll still use my calendar and my GQs for right now, but it would be nice if I could fuse everything together.
Well, it'd be nice if I could fuse. So I'm going to start trying to use capacities, but I use. Well, all right. Wait, I'm going to read people's comments here. Vinmar says, "I miss Google's inbox so much. I switched to Proton Mail now, though."
Yeah,
And then okay. And then on the other side, on the
that requires money, right? I would have to pay for Proton Mail, right? Is that why I'm not using it? I'm trying to remember why I don't use it, and I think it's because I'm cheap.
Well, so
I actually pay for GQs, so that's the thing. Is that is one of the few things I pay for, and I'm paying for. I'm patronizing podcasts. I do that.
I started paying for ChatGPT 4.
Ugh.
I don't know why. Like, did you like the soup I made the other day? Because I was talking.
That was a recipe stolen from the internet.
Yeah, except for
ChatGPT.
how. Yeah, and what I usually do is the legitimate thing is to go to Pinterest and click on and type in vegetarian meals.
No.
So yeah, I stole a recipe using ChatGPT.
Are you talking about the chana masala
No.
soup?
No, the soup with all
Lentil
the
soup.
lentil soup.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm sitting
It
there.
didn't seem that much different from the lentil soup you've cooked before.
That's
though.
right. It wasn't. But I don't have that handy. Like I've
Right.
got like 4,000 Pinterest vegetarian. Like I don't even know where to look. Like I would know where to look, but I'd have to go through like 4 or 5 or 10 different recipes, and they're all embedded in 1,000 different vegetarian recipes, vegetarian vegan recipes for weekdays. You know, for when you're late at work or something. And then I'm using ChatGPT. You know, like I'll have a list of stuff, and you know what I did? You know what I used it for? I'm like, can you capitalize this sentence for me? Because I wanted a sentence capitalized, like with all caps, and it says certainly, and it capitalizes it for you. So I'm using it as like an assistant. Like I'm really using it like
what it's good for, which is not actually. Yeah. It's more of
it's
like
so good. It's my Google aggregator. I'm sorry, but you know, and then right when I was then I started like having the panic attack about not knowing what to make for dinner, and then I was like, wait a minute. Hey, ChatGPT, I have lentils, I have carrots, onions, and whatever else the fuck I had. Like nothing else. What can I make for dinner? And it was like, here's a recipe.
Yeah, and I think that's fine, because what that means is that, like, for instance, Facebook won't be full of people saying that thing to just, you know, their Facebook feed. What should I make with this? Right? You just ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I don't know. It's been. Am I a vegetarian? I am a vegetarian. Rick is a vegan. I'm sorry, Rick is a plant-based.
Rick is plant-based.
Yeah, Vinmar is saying that there's a free version of Proton Mail, but he wants to support Proton since it's so privacy-focused. Privacy-focused. I'm straddling the Poster Children and the Radio Zero Facebook feeds now with questions and stuff. Micah, are you vegetarian? That's the question. So,
I'd looked at Notion and Obsidian and what's the other one? There's another one, and it's like it's kind of like, oh, do I really want to spend? So this is what normally
these are
would
productivity
happen.
tools,
Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah, and do I want to spend a huge amount of time building a system or customizing a system? And so that's what was nice about this capacities thing, is it had a lot of the features, but I don't have to have the big front end kind of building, although I am spending a lot of time entering in stuff, but I can already start seeing like how this is going to be valuable as I get overwhelmed, and then I can't remember, why do I know this person? Oh, it's because a year ago we worked on this thing together, and that's all networked and linked together, as opposed to me kind of doing searches through my Google Docs.
Yeah.
And my OneNote and my Teams.
It's so terrible. Yeah, the problem is
also,
the university is on Microsoft, and it's like,
and it's
so terrible.
It's also, I kind of don't want to have. Yeah, I don't.
Oh, Andy's all excited. He's signing up for capacities.
You should check it out.
April says hi from Oklahoma.
Yeah. It's pretty neat. And watch the video, and then it's like, ooh, yeah, I think I do want to do that. I want to use, and I'm trying it out. We'll see if it takes over, because I do feel like I lose track of stuff, and then that idea of things not being stitched together, or like not being able to see a web of connections, as opposed to everything's based on what box I put it in. A lot of times I feel like I put things in a box to never look at again, which is fine, actually. That's probably okay, but a lot of times, especially as you get older too, it's like, why or you're just doing so much stuff, it's hard to remember all the connections. But I think it is because I used to do all this in my head, and I still do it all in my head, but it's like, you know what, as I get older, it's going to be harder for me to remember when I talked to every person and what meeting we were in and what we talked about, and this person does that, and so maybe it's me kind of a preemptive strike to download my brain and memory before it's gone.
Upload your brain. Is there a web? Does it look okay on your phone?
Right, it's not. They've got a mobile app they're working on, but you have to pay to see the beta. It might even be an alpha.
Oh,
so
Jesus
right
Christ.
now,
Oh.
yeah. So
All right.
right now
so
it's really good. It
note-taking,
works
though.
as a web app on your phone.
Right.
It is a web app, but it's not useful. That's the other problem, is it's not useful as that. But in the more kind of like note taking, you're at your laptop kind of, and
right,
keeping track of
You're
everything
in a
and organizing.
Yeah, that'd be
it's
great.
super useful.
Yeah,
So far it's been useful.
So do you like, should I be, I was doing this, I do this with some of my to-do list stuff, is that I stick it in the calendar, but other stuff I don't. And like, do you stick everything in your calendar? Like,
well, my to-do list is connected to the calendar, so it's direct. That's the whole point of GQs, is that it.
Yeah, I wish I could
every
do that.
to-do, if you put a date on it.
Right. Yeah.
So if you don't, and so that's the problem too, is now I'm trying to figure out, because that's the problem I'm having, whereas there are tasks, and I have huge to-do lists, but some of them, because I can do like web links and I can put them into the to-do list, I can just do a web clipper, and then that becomes a to-do item in there too.
In GQs.
Right.
Okay.
But that means I have to-dos that are kind of task and time-based, right? Things I have to do.
Right.
But then I also have to-dos now that are information that I should look at and are in a category, or it's like I have 100 to-dos on a project, and it's in the sub kind of category, right? The top level to-do, and I have to do this better, is the time thing. And it's like, that's when you work on, you set that to be when you work on it, and then you've got a sub list inside it with all the things in there. But it's that kind of keeping track of information kind of stuff. And then also the checking off a to-do list is great, but then once you check something off, there's an archive, but like it disappears, which is good. I want that. As I'm looking at my day's work, I like checking off things and then seeing that it's blank for today.
Yeah.
Right? But it would also be good to check stuff off and then be able to go back in like a calendar. Well, yeah, and that's what
And
doesn't
see
happen.
what you can-
and that's not
yeah.
the way it's set up because with GQs, your events, I think they go away. Oh, maybe they don't go away in the calendar. I can't remember.
I saw a video of somebody just putting making a like a day event with their like every to do was a day event.
Yeah.
And you have to get that done.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's just
And
an
that's-
all day event in
This
your
is
calendar.
similar. Yeah. So
Yeah.
GQs is just a more refined to-do list that does that. But yeah, like Chris Lost, I feel like everything's just in his Outlook calendar.
From your
It's like,
from your podcast.
yeah, other podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I understood, the way he does things is just directly in the calendar, which is a way to do it too. Where it's not even, it's like a to-do list. but
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
how I do
basically-
it. Yeah,
and that's what you have
for
to do.
some tasks, I think.
Oh, for any
So-
kind of
And we have a
task
question.
that you need to complete during that's time based, right?
Yeah, we have a question from Micah here, who is angling towards being a vegetarian. We can talk about that later for you, Micah. But the question is your to-do list organized by specific time of day? For instance, go-go dance at 6 a.m.
It
So your
can be.
to-do list, yeah.
Yeah. So like crossword puzzle is on my to-do list, and it's a repeating to-do every day at 7 a.m. And so crossword, like
And you can never cross that off, though.
I cross it off when I'm
Oh,
done.
when you're done,
and then
okay.
it goes away and it generates a new
Yeah.
to-do for the next day because it's a repeating
Does that
to-do.
ever make you sad? Because
What?
my take pill is always at the bottom of my...
Well, no,
my-
because with GQs, the repeating tasks like that, you check it off.
and
it
you don't see it
it
after you've done
destroys it
Yeah,
for the day. It's
Yeah,
gone from the calendar, and it
remember.
generates a new event for the next day.
yeah.
So
I
for
remember
those kind of
using that.
repeating tasks, it's the one problem is if you want to see your repeating tasks, like throw out the garbage. Like I have a garbage reminder, and that garbage reminder only shows up every week, or 1 week ahead,
Right.
at most, because I check it off and then it generates the next one. It's like once you check it off, it burns it and then creates a new one for next week.
I wish,
Right. And so
yeah.
I don't see garbage which is what you would do with a regular calendar or repeating kind of. What I used to do is that would be just a calendar reminder, but now I can do it as a to-do because then I can check it off. It's on my calendar. I get a reminder, but I also then at the end of the night, if I look at my to-do for the day and I still see garbage on there or I see crossword on
like,
there, I'm like, oh
like that
crap, I haven't
happened
done
to
my
you the other
crossword yet.
day,
I got to
yeah.
do it before I lose my streak.
So how come the New York Times crossword puzzle doesn't automatically know that you did it and take itself off your list?
I don't think I have notifications on I don't think I have
Yeah.
the New York Times crossword notifications
So-
set in the app.
All right. So here's my next question, because
Maybe
like
I should do that. Though.
when so our work, like Illinois State University, they're all Microsoft based. So I have to use Outlook, and that kills me because I my whole life is on Google because I like it better. But so we have, so part of your work stuff has got to be all on Microsoft. Like you have a calendar, you have a Microsoft calendar, right? So you
Yep.
don't put how do you do that? So how do you rectify?
I've split my life. So
Yeah.
Google is my personal and musical kind of stuff, and Microsoft Outlook
is for your work.
is for
Okay,
work.
yeah, you even
and
have
I
two
keep them
different
separate, and I have
computers,
separate laptops,
Yeah.
and that's also
You're supposed to.
and it's a little bit of security. It's also if there's any question about if I'm doing outside work on my school machine, it's also freedom of information. It's kind of like if I run my whole life through, and we got a briefing about this. It's like, yeah, your personal stuff on you can do that stuff on your school account and your school calendar, right? You can put all that in there. And then they say that's not that if someone does a freedom of information on your university email, they shouldn't be able to take, or on your university calendar, right? There's a separate personal calendar, right? I could use that, right? I could use Outlook through my university account and have my personal calendar and then my regular work calendar.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
and then the FOI would only be able to, in theory, they'd only be able to make a request for my regular
For your-
calendar
yeah.
or my school email.
Yeah.
But I feel like if it's all on on that same machine and I mash it all together and I do all my personal and outside of school business and work on Outlook, at some point
Okay.
there's going to be a problem.
We have another question for you. Andy Lester is asking, does crossword include only the crossword, or is it implicit spelling bee and connections too?
Yeah, no. So I've reduced my game commitments. I have just crosswords. So I stopped
And
with
Duolingo too.
and then I have a Duolingo, which I
Yeah.
moved from the morning to the evening. And so I do Duolingo
Like
and the
game
New York Times
commitments.
crossword. I will do connections if, like, for instance, I'm sitting on the toilet and I've already finished the puzzle, the crossword puzzle, right? You know, and it's like, okay.
Everybody in
I'll-
this
I'll
family
do
does the New
connections.
York Times crossword. Like our kids do, like the baby version of
Well,
the.
you know, it could be said that I do that puzzle when the kids are doing the puzzle, or the younger
Well,
one
they
is doing the
sometimes
puzzle.
ask me too, but they do. Yeah, it's neat.
What is a word about
What's-
ink in a printer? Toner. That was last night.
Oh,
That
I
was-
couldn't figure that out.
Yeah.
Well, he asked me first, and then now he knows not to ask me. So, so that, and then Duolingo. Oh, Micah
And then
wants to know.
what's the one that we were all obsessed with before and now I don't do anymore? The 5 letters. Why can't I remember the name of that game? Wordle.
Oh,
I
Wordle.
gave
You
up
don't do
Wordle.
that anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't have a reminder for Wordle.
Micah wants to
I'm
know
off Wordle.
which language you do on Duolingo, and you should also tell people your streaks.
I'm doing Spanish. I feel embarrassed to say that, and I'm even more embarrassed to say. And then the question is, Rick, what language did you learn in high school?
Well, you didn't learn Spanish.
I didn't learn Spanish, which to me, seems really stupid.
You learned German.
I learned German. My school actually had a German teacher.
Yeah.
Actually, it was great because what happened was I didn't go on the field trip, or the overseas trip. So some of the kids went to Berlin for a week. They got to do that trip. They came back, and they were like, "We've heard the most amazing music in the world. It's called U-Bahn music." And everybody's like, "U-Bahn music? What does that mean?" And then the teacher goes, "It means underground." She was German. Underground music. No, but that was not her accent because she was not the Swedish chef. She was German. I apparently can't imitate my German teacher anymore. I used to be able to, but now I can't.
Yeah.
Anyways, she was
you're doing Duolingo
an older
Spanish.
woman, and it was all strange. And then they took out this record and they put it on, and then it was boop beep boop 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 beep boop boop, and then ich lieb dich nicht, du liebst mich nicht, and it was like, what is that? And the teacher is like, it means I love you not, you love me not. And it was like they had come back with Trio, da da da.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it was before the English version. It was
Wow.
It had just hit, and they brought it back. These kids brought it back from their Berlin trip, and we all sat around the record player in German class and listened to this crazy music, and I was so excited. And then once they. It blew up after that once they did the English version. But this was that was the best part of having German in high school, was getting hipped to da 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 trio da
That's
da da.
so cool.
Yeah,
But
as if we were Europeans.
Yeah. So do you know what your streak is in Duolingo? What's
don't
your
think
New
I'm
York
up to a
Times?
year.
What's your New York Times streak?
I'm getting close to 1,000 days.
Cool.
Pretty
good.
And I almost lost it. So this was bad. I checked it off my to-do on Wednesday, and then Thursday morning I woke up very early and I looked, and I was going to start. I'm going to start on the Thursday puzzle, and then I looked, and I had a shock, and it was like the Wednesday puzzle wasn't finished. But I also knew that the last time that happened, I got away with doing it. What was it? It was like 7 or 8 in the morning, the day after that Sunday. There's a podcast, right? There's an episode where I talked all about that, where I was able to get credit, at 8 in the morning for finishing the Sunday puzzle at 8 in the morning on a Monday. So I kind of felt like, at 5 in the morning, I can get this, as long as I started it and was almost done, I can just finish it off and I'll still get credit. And I did. So but it was scary. It's getting scary. And that's what I'm upset about, because that's what happened the last time is I was like, what was I, 2 years into a streak?
Yeah.
And then and there was a
Something
good
happened.
reason. No, it didn't happen. I went up to Milwaukee and shot that music video for Conan, and Graham was with me, and it was music video day. And so music video, if you're shooting a music video in a day, it's basically you hit the ground running and you just go for as long as you can, and that's what we did. We just shot
and
all
you
day.
didn't. Yeah, you
it
felt
was like
you
all day
shouldn't-
shooting the narrative part, and then all night shooting the live part, and then it was like collapse. And then it was like I lost my streak, and then I was really angry, not because of that, but because of having the streak, and then the feeling of being angry that I lost the streak, and I felt like I was being manipulated. And so through most of COVID, I kind of just was like, okay, I'm going to do the puzzle, but if I don't finish it, I'm not going to beat myself. I'm just going to let this be a good, nice, cool thing. But then
you got back on the wagon
back
again.
on the wagon,
That's
and now
why you notice I'm not on Duolingo publicly.
Yeah.
It's because I can't, I got to the highest, whatever. And I'm learning Portuguese. But I got to the high, whatever. You're in the highest.
I'm in the Diamond
the Diamond
League, but I'm also in the semifinals right now,
yeah.
which I don't understand. And the problem is I had a goal where I was like, I just want to get that prize for the number 1 week in the Diamond League. And so I've been kind of working to, basically I wait a really long time on Duolingo. What is it, on Monday?
That was what I used to do.
Get the, all the slackers to get into a league.
Get in a league with the slackers.
Yeah, and then it was like,
you get placed in a league. It's like Overwatch, I think.
This week I'm going to use up all my, my coins or whatever they are, my gems, and I'm going to do double time, and I'm going to get to, I'm just going to get number 1 and then get that, one last little prize. And I did that, and I lost it. Like somebody snarked it from me, like 15 minutes before I was at number 1. And then the last couple of weeks I'd be on, and I'm not going to work to get number 1 if for instance I would have to spend all my time on Duolingo to do that. And so right before this tournament bullshit happened, some guy was in the Diamond League and had like 20,000 points or something. I'm like, what the hell?
How do you get 20,000 points?
It was like 5 digits.
You must have just spent the whole day, or he's got
and it's like, come on, let somebody else get number 1, and somebody who has a life, and then I got in, somehow I stumbled into this, this tournament, which is 3 weeks, and I'm in week 2 of the tournament. So I'm staying in the top 10, but I'm not going to get a prize for being number 1 in the Diamond League. So I don't know what to do. It's upsetting. So it's, and I looked it up, and people are commenting about the tournament thing, and they're saying, this is when, and I got to the final, and I did really well, and then I basically got nothing for it. And it's like, and then other people are saying, that's when I stopped, competing and being, right? So if you take yourself off of being public, then you're not in a league anymore, right?
Right, that's
and
what I did.
you just do the work, and that's what everybody's saying is like, the whole point of this is to learn a language, not to try to get to the number 1 point in the Diamond League or to win a tournament.
Yeah.
And so I am pretty close to that point where it's like, I'm not really.
You're just going for points instead of learning Spanish.
I'm really able to match English and Spanish, basic Spanish words very quickly now.
Right, that's how I got.
Lots of points.
Do your arms, do your elbows hurt?
No, I use my thumbs.
Well,
I don't use my elbows for that.
But I was starting to get like carpal tunnel or something like that too. Like I was just like figuring out, okay, I got a double pointy thing or whatever. So now I just go on, like I just do the absolute minimum Portuguese like little lesson every day and try not to have the Duolingo bird cry. All right, I'm bored. But the thing about this is that you do, like, there's one thing that I have to do every day. Like I have to put in my contacts, and then I have to whatever, like I have to, and then I have to do my Duolingo because I have an 880-day streak or whatever I have. Micah Bedwell says, "What do they say? I am approaching learning Arabic with the rigor of writing a proof."
Our youngest child is learning Latin now. Has decided
really?
with a friend that they're going to learn Latin.
Is it
like
a school
totally,
friend?
Yeah, I was just talking to them. Like coming out of school. Like totally voluntarily. Like,
Well, your mom's got that. I was going to
Oh, yeah.
learn Latin too. She's got a Latin textbook.
yeah, my mom was a linguist,
Yeah,
languages
that's cool.
major.
Cody B is saying Spanish word for thumb. Go.
I don't know.
That's
I'm
not.
it's so lame.
I know the Spanish word for fingers. Thumb is not.
Thumb is not a finger. Is a thumb a finger?
I'll have to look it up now.
Let's open it up to discussion. Let's get some hot button topics going now. Let's get some fire
All right,
going
let's
in this
do it.
podcast.
Let's dead
Is
down.
a thumb a finger?
Why don't you talk about politics? What happened to our boy?
Which one is that?
The one who invented our car.
I
can't
think
even find
he's
Spanish.
I think he's
Pulgar.
Yeah. Pulgar. Is that
Pulgar. I never knew that, and I took Spanish in high school.
What do you even need a thumb for?
Okay.
Like, why would you even need to know that word? How often do you say thumb?
Better put my. And dedão is. This is interesting. Dedão is the Portuguese word for thumb, and dedo,
And
D-E-D-O is finger, and anything that ends with A-O, in Portuguese means like more.
Oh.
So it's like more than a finger,
Oh.
like bigger, like
Yeah.
like so, like
It's
you
an
could say
important
obrigado. That means thank you. Sorry.
The and I actually used the word thumb a lot before that came up today,
Okay.
talking to our kid about Latin because he's also playing, this sword fighting game with these Roman gladiators, and he was talking about the thumbs up and thumbs down stuff.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to read you some comments here. Cody B says, laughing out loud. Tim Bauer says, hello. Thumb is not a finger. Andy Lester says, how about those Republicans, huh? Tim Bauer says, early autumn sun showing on Rick. And
Yeah.
April Smith says, Rose loves those 70s aviator-styled glasses. Thank you. They're readers. Dannon says, took 2 years of Latin and then 2 years of French in high school. The Latin helped me some with the French, but I also regret not taking Spanish, especially living in Arizona.
Yeah.
And
Living in on the planet, living in North America.
Yeah, you should
right?
know Spanish.
Living in this
And
hemisphere.
Cody
It's
says
like,
playing instruments would be hard without thumbs.
yeah.
So, well,
No,
Have you-
I'm very grateful for my thumbs.
okay. So can you speak Spanish?
Me?
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the problem. Is it's totally a. I mean, I need to watch like
Some movies
Spanish,
in
and I do
Spanish, yeah.
have a slow Spanish podcast, but I
Oh,
don't listen
yeah.
to the news in slow Spanish. I need to, because that's the problem. Is Spanish is so fast. Like when I'm watching the World Cup or something, and that's again me being cheap, where I don't want to pay to get World Cup games, and so I'll watch it on Telemundo or something, and everybody's talking so fast.
You could watch any like all of the stuff, like Ahsoka, for instance. I think all the Disney stuff is in every language. Like I haven't started doing that yet, but I'm going to start watching it in Portuguese.
Great, wonderful.
What? Okay. All right. So what do you got next?
Do you want to? You talked about Ahsoka, so why don't you talk about that?
I like, yeah, the first or second, like I was like, oh man. So I've been watching, like, is it Rebels? Yeah. I started watching Rebels and I was like, this is okay. And then I started watching, cause I knew you needed to watch that in order to watch Ahsoka, and give me like a lady Star Wars person any day, and I'll watch any lady Star Wars thing pretty much. I'll probably watch any Star Wars thing too. But by maybe the second or third, I was like, okay, so they're looking for Ezra. And I remember the name of Ezra, like the first episode of Rebels, you see like a little irritating kid named Ezra, and I was like, that's probably the whole saga of Ezra. and they're like, oh, he's dead and we're looking for him, maybe he's not dead. So I was like, oh, now I really have to watch Rebels. So then I started watching Rebels, and then I started becoming fascinated with how, like, this started as a cartoon again, and now it's live action, right? So it's like, oh my God, these characters look exactly like their cartoon. How do they do that? I mean, I understand how you'd make a cartoon out of live action, right? That we've seen that all our lives, right? But like, and then, well, like the Flintstones, you got John Goodman being whatever, Fred. That's like real loose and stuff,
it happened, right? It would happen once in a while.
Yeah, once in a while, but
never
mostly
well,
it's mostly
right?
it's.
I'm trying to think of other examples. That's a really great example.
Yeah, it's live action going to cartoon, right? Like you'd have Star Wars, and then you'd have the cartoon Star Wars.
That Star Trek cartoon.
Right, terrible, ugly, horrible stuff. But this is starting with cartoon. And then you see it live action, and I was just like, oh my God, why? How does she look exactly like that? How does this person look? How did they? And now I've talked about this before, like with the other Star Wars, as Scooby-Doo, Larry is saying.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo's, and
yeah.
it's always like, ugh.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, right. But this is like, they look exactly like the cartoon. And even the robots, and the droids and stuff, it's like, oh my God, it looks exactly like that. How do they do that? It's neat. So then I started watching Rebels, and now like I'm like really enjoying it. And I can't, you know how you guys like watch that and you like grade or something, or you like watch, not Rebels, but you watch TV, you've got like Peacock going in the background and you do stuff. I can't do that. Like I can't even watch, like, even Rebels. I have to pause it and wait, what did he say? I have to go return, I have to like go back 15 seconds. Oh, okay, that, like, it's like I have to watch it over and over again.
I can't watch, so I need to, I can have Green Acres or Wild Wild West or Have Gun Will Travel. What else am I, like I just have running in the background if I just need something kind of to fill up half my brain while I'm doing something like programming or it's like, or working on my personal knowledge management system, but if it's something I care about, right, or I want to know,
then
what's
you have
going
to,
on. Or one of those foreign movies you have to read, it's more like having the radio on for me for a lot of those things. Yeah. So, but if you care about it.
No, I have to pay attention to every, so I can't do anything. Like I was quilting while I was watching it, and no, it didn't work even.
Wow. Yeah.
So, but so now, I feel, I know it's not that good. I guess it's not that good, but I don't know. I really like it. It's just nice to sit with those characters again. And if they broke the canon, I'm sorry, I'll still watch it, and like spoiler alert, like Anakin Skywalker shows up, and like having made it through the Clone Wars, which I did. I worked on that all summer and I finished them. It's nice. Like it's nice. There's more story there than the original trilogy and the sequels and the prequels. There's more story.
And I don't mean to hijack this, but while I was doing stuff yesterday, I was watching a documentary on Ren and Stimpy.
Oh yeah.
And realizing, like that Star Trek cartoon, just like how bad cartoons had gotten in the 70s and 80s, like, and how awful they were and how amazing, they talk about it. The problem is the beginning of this documentary is just like, that freaking cartoon was amazing.
The Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah. They were talking about the stills, the backgrounds, and then the animation itself and the expressions, and like how they sat there and just watched, what is his name? Kirk Douglas movies constantly to get expressions, and like showing clips of Kirk Douglas and then showing Ren,
Kirk
doing.
Douglas is Ren?
Well, no. Well, Kirk Douglas actually starts showing up. Like, there's a character who's basically Kirk Douglas, but there's also just like some of Ren's expressions, like crazy expressions, and they're like showing Kirk Douglas, and it's like he's actually making expressions as extreme as Ren and everything like that. And it was how amazing that animation was, and how it did revolutionize everything. Although they didn't talk much about like the fact that what's his name, John Kricfalusi, came from the Ralph Bakshi Productions, and you had Mighty Mouse and what was it before that? That was where they were starting to do that kind of stuff.
That was a really crazy animator, right? Ralph
Yeah.
Bakshi.
Ralph Bakshi was the 70s
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
And then the Ren and Stimpy guy kind of was part of the TV, I think was part. They didn't talk about it in the documentary, but then that documentary goes super dark, I had a vague memory of, this guy, sort of created by guy of Ren and Stimpy. There are lots of problems, but it was like, oh, wow, okay. And he's in the documentary too, and it's just like, wow.
He was mean. He
not
had
just
critique.
mean. You didn't even,
Yeah.
So like underage women, and after everything fell apart, and then recruiting them into his new animation company, or the animation company, and then all sorts of creepy stuff, accusations.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's like goes super dark by the end. It's just like, ugh.
Andy Lester says, Larry says, I watch everything with subtitles, and I wrote, yes, we do too. Everything with subtitles with English. Andy says can't do anything with conversation as background. Podcasts too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is I have to listen. And in fact, if I'm doing like brain work, like super brain work, not like I can program with something else going on, right? And I can do web development and all that kind of stuff. I need something else going on in the background, visual design, right? I need to have music or podcasts sometimes, but it's like, but anything that involves writing, right? Or creating, or, working on a class, right? That I can't have background stuff going on, but it's kind of like, and that I actually have to listen to classical music, because even if I listen to music, that any kind of music that I can compose, or is more structured, right? And has lyrics, right? I just start listening to it. I start listening to the production. And that's, it's like, I do want to have a deeper understanding of classical sort of composition.
I know a class you can take.
Yes, exactly. And I think
sit
about
in
it.
the classes at school of music.
But the thing is what's going to happen though if I do that? Then I'm not going to be able to have classical music sort of fill that little bit of
That's correct,
background
my
noise.
friend. In fact, you may not
I'd
ever
have
be able
to
to compose anything ever again.
Exactly, and that's my fear. It's kind of like
Yeah.
I do feel like I need to up my game, but I also feel like I won't be able to ever listen to music if I can't have classical playing in the background when I'm doing deep work. Because I can't even listen to the kind of like avant-garde podcast that I found. I wish I could remember to let y'all know what it is, but it's like, like 2 hours of, the history of drone music and stuff. And it's like, I can't even listen to that and work on, do heavy brain work, because even though it's drones, I'm like listening to it and going, ooh, that's really cool. Oh, I like that texture and everything like that. I can't listen to ambient music, right? Because it's like, ooh, that's a really interesting texture. It's like classical. It's just the right combination of engagement, but not to the point where I'm tearing it apart. And thinking about it, like watching, trying to figure out how it's all put together. Anyway, sorry, I went on a tangent.
No, it's good. All right, what else? What else is on the list?
I don't know. We got 10 minutes left. You wanted to talk about politics. I mean, I'm trying to think of what's been going on. I mean, it's the crazy ass stuff, and then the impeachment, the Biden impeachment.
They're impeaching Biden because of something his son did?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
that's fair game.
They want to know more. It's not fair game. I think that's BS. Especially when your son is not as involved.
He's not involved in politics at all, right? And there were
he is.
No, he's
he
involved.
was totally selling his name and his supposed influence to suckers. But the reality is I don't think they got anything for that. And so it's. Yeah, I don't know.
We got a couple of... All right, so Andy says, this is from the last conversation, a lot of times I can't listen to music with lyrics because the words intrude. I have instrumental playlists. Larry says, a little off topic, but there are some interesting looking horror movies directed by women coming out on Hulu and Paramount Plus.
It's very specific.
Pet Cemetery, Bloodlines, and Appendage. Andy says Hunter Biden and the gun charges owe the irony. And Andy Lester says GOP loves gun laws now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and they're saying the Democrats don't, stuff like that. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you no longer have a firm ideological foundation, right? if you do a buffet style,
What are you saying?
I'm saying that,
I know, yeah.
If all of your evaluations are conditional, which is like gun laws are bad unless they can be used against my enemy, right? The law that affects my enemy is, I don't know how to say it, but it's all there's no foundation anymore. At least before, like with the monster Ronald Reagan, there was some kind of claim to, the racism was all filtered through supposed, economic, like, oh, well, we want everyone to be a free agent and we don't want to spend money because that's socialist, right? Whereas it's like, now it's like, no, I want to spend money on this, but I don't want to spend money on this.
Do you?
And, yeah.
I heard somebody calling for Joe Biden to step down.
Yeah, a Democrat, sure.
Yeah.
Or everybody's saying they're too old. Yeah, and I mean, I think there's some validity to that. But listening to this generations researcher, this newer generations researcher, this Gen X generations researcher, talking about how the silent generation almost didn't have a president, right? That was the whole thing, it's like,
that's why they were called silent generation.
Yeah, we went from the greatest generation to baby boomers, and there was never a silent generation president. And then it was like, oh, but Joe Biden made it in, and it's like, and so I also kind of felt like, you know what, it's good to have that generation. My parents' generation got a president. Unfortunately, that person had to, get that prize in their 80s or their late 70s, right? And not 20 years
true.
ago.
Yeah, we are hearing from that generation. Yeah, it's a good generation.
Yeah.
They're not like hippies.
Actually, that's the thing is you listen to this book and it reiterates what we all what you should know is that a lot of the good stuff that gets attributed to the baby boomers was silent generation stuff.
Like what?
Civil rights movement. So all the leaders in that, Bob Dylan is a silent generation person. You all the stuff. In fact, that's the famous story. I think it's Kurt Vonnegut, right? Said that he had Jack Kerouac, who was already deep into alcoholism. Well, was close to death and was a raging drunk, but like. He was at Kurt Vonnegut's house, and Kurt Vonnegut's son walked in, and Jack Kerouac said, "I invented you," to Kurt Vonnegut's hippie son, and I think they got into a fist fight. Like this hippie kid was really pissed off that Jack Kerouac was saying he invented hippies, and invented him, and was like, "No, we're our own people," but it's kind of true, It's like it was. All that beatnik culture, Ken Casey, all that stuff, even members of the Grateful Dead, right? You could. So, anyways, what's the point? What was my point? Why did I go off on that tangent? Oh yeah, and just the frickin' baby boomers too. It's really all it is when it boils down to it is just if your generation is the largest generation, you've got this giant population, it's going to dominate everything, right? It's going to be dominant, and that's all it is. It's the importance, the cultural importance, and how the baby boomers were great and did all this stuff. Really, all it is just there's more of them. There were more of them. There are more of them, and they just bully and dominate everything just by sheer magnitude. It is nothing more than that, right? It's not that they were somehow exceptional in any way, except for the fact that there were so frickin' many of them. So the thing is like a weird cult band that was, of that baby boomer era would have hundreds of thousands of fans, right? Whereas a weird cult band of our generation would have hundreds of fans, right? Because there's just less less of
Larry
a
says-
generation.
Larry says a hippie fight would probably look very awkward. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Gen X art exhibition that we saw at the
Oh yeah,
Illinois State
Wow.
Museum?
That was great.
Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Why don't you talk about it? Because you just mentioned it. And it's the first thing.
I don't have enough. Yeah, it just hit me.
It was great, and it was unfortunate that we basically went to this exhibit the last day on Labor Day. It was the last day. It was.
It's carried on though.
Oh, did they? They extended it?
Yeah, they extended it.
Oh, that's great. I'll have
Yeah.
to tell people. I'll have to.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
great
I
because.
think they extended it. Let me
Oh,
look.
wonderful! I'm going to post about it because it's at the Illinois State Museum in Springfield. So, take a day trip down to Springfield, hang out, go to see this exhibit. It's just,
extended through. Oh, it says extended through September. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a nice. Oh, and I don't want to talk too much about it because if people go to it, because that Teddy Ruxpin thing, that was the best part of it. I loved the Teddy Ruxpin, even if it had already aired out. But I'll talk about it. But so it had all sorts of stuff about, it had stuff about Just Say No. It had it had like
Cassette players, telephones with cords. Apple IIe computer.
A bunch of continuity photos from Ferris Bueller's Day
Yeah,
Off.
yeah, you liked that. Yeah.
But the Teddy Ruxpin, lots of toys, talking about toys and television and music and video games. You can play Atari 2600 and a Super Nintendo in a recreation of a 80s living room, which looks 70s, but it's like, they looked like that. That's also that blur where the 70s and the 80s kind of blurred, right? They look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does say, it says extended through September.
Wonderful. Highly recommended. Just nice little nostalgic trip about our generation. It
made our kid ask us questions about us and stuff. He was pretty impressed too because there's a little poster children nugget in there too.
So Ian Jones was instrumental in doing that.
Yeah, thanks.
But the Teddy Ruxpin, it was just a little card and then a Teddy Ruxpin doll, not in a case. So all the other toys were in a case, and it was Teddy Ruxpin. And then the card had a whole thing about cigarettes and smoking. And it's like in the 80s, everybody smoked, and you were on an airplane, there were people smoking. You're in a restaurant, there were people smoking. You go to a friend's house, and it was smoky, and it was like, smell this Teddy Ruxpin doll, and you will see what everything
I didn't
smelled
see
like.
that one.
Yeah, you didn't see it. It was
No.
off in the corner of the toy kind of area, and it was like, Dow said he could smell it,
Oh
but
my
I was
God.
like it was like
Yeah.
this doll was from a smoking household, and you go ahead and sniff it.
That's
and it
so
was like,
cool.
yeah, it was so funny. It's like it was one thing to have a Teddy Ruxpin, but then the Teddy Ruxpin's there to represent like the fact that no one understands, and that's like us with touring. It was like that. It was like you'd tour, and every club smelled like smoke, and then you'd go to the one in Boulder, right? What's the club in Boulder? What was that called? Was it? Yeah, it was in Boulder, right?
I can't remember.
Yeah, and you'd walk into that club, and one of the earliest smoking bands, right? And you walk into that club, and it's like, what is that smell? And it's stale beer, and it's like the weirdest smell in the world. And it's like, this club doesn't smell like cigarettes, and it was that kind of thing where it was like nobody understands anymore, like how pervasive that cigarette smell was. Just everywhere, especially in like clubs and
I know, like just recently when I was filling out one other, you always have to fill out medical information. Did you ever smoke? And, like especially like during the cancer treatments, I remember, no, I never smoked. No, blah, blah, blah. And then I remember at some point, maybe when I was going for radiation treatments or something, I was like, you know what? I spent 10 years on tour playing in smoky clubs.
And they do ask that now about secondhand smoking. And secondhand
smoke,
smoking to me is still.
And I grew up in a smoking house.
Yeah. Your parents smoked, or your brother or sister smoked. It's like that's. But the reality is and I've thought about that too, where it's like, should I change my response to not smoking? Because as I get older, and it's like maybe, I was a pretty active secondhand smoker for 10 years of my life. You know, those shows.
Yeah.
And so, it's But again, I went to my doctor's appointment, and it's a total, like, I feel like I'm playing a long game because I'm super hyper kind of aware of my health, but not in a neurotic, well, maybe in a neurotic way, but not in a hypochondriacal. How do you even say that? Hypochondriacal way.
Oh,
right?
I got Heidi here. I'm sorry. I've been missing people. Okay, wait.
But anyways, yeah, but it's like, and so yeah, do I say the thing about, oh yeah, maybe we should be on a little bit of alert about this because I was, you should treat me kind of like maybe like I am a smoker or a secondhand smoker, but it's also kind of like, oh no, I don't want to, like, you have to, kind of work the doctor and not be too like, I looked this up on the internet and I think I have this kind of
yeah, they
person.
get mad. Yeah, I gotta go.
It's not
see,
even that they
yeah.
get mad. It's
Yeah.
just kind of like they stop.
They stop listening to you.
Not even that they stop. Yeah, they
do.
They filter. They start filtering what you say.
Okay, April says, I think Andy says where, and I think that maybe he's asking about the Gen X. Just look up Gen X.
It's
Illinois
the Illinois
State
State Museum, so it's in
In
Springfield.
Springfield.
It is not right next to the Lincoln
And it's
Museum, but it's in Springfield.
And it's not Illinois State University. It's just
No.
Illinois State. It's not affiliated with
Illinois
us.
State, yes. So
Yeah.
in Springfield. So the bottom floor's got a whole big exhibit on the geology of the state of Illinois.
Really beautiful exhibits there,
Yeah.
too. April says, I don't get some people who think music ended post-Beatles. Heidi Orr says, she's my fellow lady bass player / breast cancer survivor, heavy secondhand smokers.
Yes.
Larry says he had a nightmare about Teddy Ruxpin a couple of years ago. Larry also says, I used to smoke during Poster Children concerts. So did we, Larry. But he quit many years ago. Congratulations.
No, that's good.
Andy Lester says, my first job in an office in 1986, my job was outside the office of a smoker. I had the one boss that I had that would put his hand on my knee, smoked like like always was. And then Andy's wondering what his lungs look like. And Larry is happy that we congratulated him for not...
Quitting smoking. Yeah.
Yeah. And then let's see, Stephen William on the other side here on Radio Zero Facebook says, excited to hear about the Gen X exhibit had been extended. Yeah. What else did we do? We went also, if you're going to Springfield, got to stop at the Lincoln Museum.
Yeah.
You have to, and you have to, we went there again. We like to just to see the show, the Lincoln show.
And it didn't sink into me last time. So there's a Pepper's Ghost. So go look up Pepper's Ghost if you hadn't. I couldn't remember the name of it. I kept calling it Caesar's Ghost, but that's that expression.
No,
Great
you
Caesar's
called it
Ghost.
Pepper's Ghost.
But, well, no, once I looked it up on Wikipedia
okay.
again, but it's this theatrical effect, where you can make kind of spirits appear. And it's a great, great little 10-minute kind of thing in a theater at the Lincoln Museum.
Yeah.
But realizing that it's a live actor, and so that means, like, especially like at 4:30, was it? It was like 4:30
on a Sunday,
on Labor Day.
Labor Day, Monday. Yeah. This poor guy was
gigging actor doing
yeah.
this Pepper's Ghost kind of presentation with about the Lincoln Museum and the archives.
Yeah,
and
why
it's
they're
like,
important. It was
it's
beautiful.
Great.
It's a beautiful,
great
exhibit,
thing. But it's also like, wow, that's and then you look and it's a half hour. They do this 10-minute show on the half hour all day.
Yeah, so he's doing it all day. Yeah,
either he's doing it all day or there's multiple actors that are gigging, doing this thing, and then it's like, are they volunteers? I hope not. They're getting paid. I hope so. Yeah, especially because we paid to get in. Yeah, so hopefully they're getting paid.
Andy says that Gina had us sit through the ghost thing twice. So yeah, we've gone to it twice now too. It's really fascinating.
But
and
there was
the
like
Dana
5
House.
years between.
Yes, yeah. And then there's the Dana House too to
we
look
didn't get
at.
to go to the Dana House
because it was closed on Labor Day.
Yeah,
but the Frank Lloyd, if you're not familiar with Frank Lloyd Wright Dana House, you can
do
tour
a lot of cool stuff. Yeah,
in
it's a
Springfield.
good day trip.
Yeah,
Springfield's
totally.
a good day trip.
Yeah,
you can stay. In fact, you could go to the state fair, get flooded out, and
that.
Apparently, people went. Yeah, it was the biggest year in attendance at the state fair in a long time.
And largest freshman class for Illinois State University ever. And largest
Not
freshman.
ever for
Oh,
in the past,
okay.
since the past in
U of I
35
also.
years.
U of
Yeah.
I has the largest freshman class. I don't know what's going on.
What's going on is there. In fact, I didn't even realize. Like, so everybody's has been talking about the enrollment cliff in Illinois
Yeah,
because Illinois has.
we're gonna have less college-age kids pretty
But
soon.
it's apparently across the whole United States.
Yes.
But then we're also in an exceptional situation where we're one of the highest rates of
Attrition, or people
people
go out of
go
state.
out of state.
Yeah.
More of our college age students go out of state than almost any other state. I think New York might be the other one. And so everyone's freaked out about the enrollment cliff that's coming, and so they're trying to sort of bulk up, get the numbers up,
Yeah.
and find new strategies for recruitment and enrollment.
All right. Well,
Yeah, this is good.
good ending place.
Yeah, I think so. I'll start playing the music, and then you don't have to think of something
wait,
else to
wait,
say.
Wait. Yeah. Well, happy autumn, everybody. In a week.